rugs. Carpet's disappearing. There's something wrong with the wood floor. We now can take care of that too because we have the Arts for Wood program. Give you an idea of the value of rugs. Here's two rugs. One's $350. They're both about the same size. One's $350. The other's $9,100. What is the difference between the two?
Price.
The two words here. Now let me ask you a question. Are you dumb enough to charge the same price for that one as for that one? Would you do that? Would that be smart? No, it would not be smart because your exposure to this one is much higher. Do you suppose it's going to take possibly longer to do this one?
Because you'll be more
Better, because your exposure again. If you mess up this rug $350, that hurts, but it doesn't wipe you out. You destroy this rug, that's going to hurt a lot, and for a lot of people, it's the end of the business. In fact, some people would say, no way, Jose, am I going to touch that rug? Period. That's the reality. You remember I gave you that form, that declaration of value. I'm going to get into that in a little bit. It is how we price rugs. Now, Dan said we price rugs $1.25 a foot, or 10% of the declared value, whichever is the higher. And the customer signs off on what the declared value is. She's telling you this rug is worth so-and-so. I would much rather have, I'm standing in front of Judge Judy, because she claims this is a handmade antique, passed down for the last 12 generations, priceless. I'd rather have a piece of paper with her John Henry on it where she said it was worth $300 than her word versus mine, because who's Judge Judy going to believe? In most courts, the entrepreneur's considered what? The crook. That's the reality. So you have to have overwhelming evidence to justify your case. Because, oh, poor Mrs. Smith. Oh, we feel so sorry for her. Horrors that you'd have a jury trial and you're going to get crucified. So anyhow, this is a perfect example, and so that's what we do. So this rug here, let's see, 24 cents a square foot, 35 square feet. Let's call it, to make it simple, let's call it a quarter of a square foot, and call it 36. That would be what? $9. No, the price for that's $910. And she may not want you to clean it. She may say, for $910, I can go to Walmart and get one that looks just like it for $90, right? Or she may say, yeah, but I want to take that to somebody who's an expert in this and can repair it and everything for $910. I agree with you 100%, Mrs. Smith. I can even give you the names of some people who specialize in true Oriental rugs. Happen to be a couple of them here in town. And they specialize in it, and they can do the repairs, and they sell them. I would suggest you take it to them. In fact, Mrs. Smith, I would suggest you take it to them regardless, because you need to check your insurance policy, because you need to have this valued by an expert, and check with your insurance company, because it may not be covered. Because I know, for example, we just redid our home insurance, and my wife has a ring from my mother when it was passed on to her when she died, and it's an extremely expensive ring. It's separately covered in the insurance policy. So anyhow, that's the reality about rugs. These aren't the only rugs I'm going to show you. Here's some more examples. What are the differences here? Well, one of the differences is what it's constructed out of. Here's wool on cotton, wool on cotton, wool on cotton, wool on silk. How about the knots per inch? Now, what are knots per inch? If we're talking about carpet, of course, we're talking about each bundle, how many per inch, stitches per inch, etc. Here we're talking about knots. How many, in a square inch, how many knots were formed? 85, 165, 275, 425 knots. Visualize a little square inch. 825 of them. Do you suppose that rug is worth a lot? Yeah, it's $145 a square foot. That's its value. This one over here is only $16.50 a square foot. You gonna charge the same? I don't think so. Here's one that's hung in the New York Museum of Art on the wall. It's not sitting on the floor because there is no value to this. 2,500 knots per square inch. Think about that. How long do you suppose it took this family to make this rug? What's an Oriental design rug? Something that's made on the machine. It's typically 68 tufts or knots per square inch. That's your typical. Those are your Oriental design rugs. We'll get into how to clean them, etc. But I just wanted you to clearly understand, number one, the difference between an Oriental and an Oriental design or Oriental style. I wanted you to understand values. I wanted you to understand that form. But that form also mentions that after we've cleaned it, we will call you to come and get it. If you don't come within, I think it's something like 90 days, they'll charge you rent. And after, I think it's something like a year, basically it's ours to dispose of however we want. Why do you suppose we do that? One of the nice things, one of the nice things about our school is we're kind of an unusual company in that we also do these things. The best teacher in the world is making mistakes. Really burning to your brain well. The good thing from your standpoint is you don't have to learn them because we pass our mistakes on to you. The other reason, there's another thing on there, and that is we want half the money up front. And there's a reason for that. Every now and then you went to all the bother. You worked on this stupid thing, and it's all beautiful and everything, and you call them up and say, we've changed our mind. We don't want that rug. We've talked about it, and we've decided, my husband told me that was dumb to spend that much money for that rug, and we just went out and bought a new one from Walmart. Guess what? You're stuck. But if we got our half our money up front, at least we got half of it, right? We've covered our costs. We didn't make any money, but we've covered our costs and got a little bit. That's why we require 50% down. And the other reason for having her declare that value is, do you suppose she's going to be tempted to escalate the value? No, because that ups the price. If anything, she'll want to do the opposite. Some other types of rugs. Here's a Flokati rug. Has anybody ever seen a Flokati rug before? What's it like?
Looks like a sheet laying on the floor.
Yeah.
It's a big mess.
Yeah, it's a big mess. It's almost like a real fine shag, isn't it? 3 to 5 inches the filaments are. Real fluffy, very hard to clean. Why? If you start cleaning it, what happens? It's stuck to the vacuum slot and you can move it around. You have to have somebody standing on the other end or a pail or something to hold it in place. From a cleaning standpoint, the problem is it's kind of like the shag. It hides a lot of dirt. It's going to be very dirty, but other than that, it cleans up pretty easily. Navajo rugs, real Navajo rugs, don't breathe heavy on them. They bleed. That's the reality. Synthetic ones, fine.
So don't clean them there.
Do not touch it. There are jobs that you should walk away from. Every now and then I'll get a call from somebody who's doing something, and I'll say, best thing for you to do is to walk. Because the chances of your messing this up is too high. Dhurrie rugs are reversible rugs. That is that you can flip them over because they look the same on both sides. Let me ask you a question. You've got this 3x5 Dhurrie rug. From a pricing standpoint, how big is this rug? 3x5. 3 times 5 is what? 15 times 2 is what? 30. It's 30 square feet. It's not a 15 square foot rug. It's 30 because you had to clean both. A lot of the Dhurries are silk. You get into real trouble. How are you going to know it's silk? Well, it's nice and shiny, very fine, but the big secret is when you have the declaration of value. Does she know that it's silk? Probably does, especially if she bought it because she's proud of it and she spends a fortune for it. but you can also test for it. Braided rugs, I'm sure that everybody's seen a braided rug. What's the problem with these two? They come unsewn because it's basically like a big rope. It's wound around and sewn, the braids are sewn together. So improperly made, they'll come apart. From a cleaning standpoint, there's another problem. It's a big rope
Big colors.
braided around something, a cord. Guess what this cord is made out of?
All of them.
Anything. It could be rags. It could be cardboard. Anything to fill in this space. And so you do your dye testing like Dan was talking about. Let's say that we're going to do this rug and you start cleaning and you start seeing green coming out. Well, where did green come from? It came from here. That's what can happen to you. Same thing can happen with upholstery. So you got to be careful about that. The other thing is it's like a Berber carpet where you've got the spaces in between the braids that may slow it down. Sisal rugs can be a real problem. If you clean a Sisal rug, your normal cleaning method, this is what's going to happen. The picture's distorted a little bit, but you see the browning that occurred here, the discoloration. By the way, to make things worse, this is a white cotton border. Look what happened. The sisal bled into the white cotton border. Guess what carpet cleaner did this? Our guy in the back. Show you how we corrected that and how it should have been cleaned. Rag rugs, they're made out of what? There's one sitting in Dan's office. Have no idea why. I am not going to ask. I am sure there's a big long story about that rug. If it's a rag, what's the problem with this? Besides the fact it's limp and hard to clean and you have to hold it in place. What's the big problem about this? How many colors are here? Do you have to test every one of them? Rag rugs, R-A-G-G, why do they call them rag rugs and where they come from? This is how rugs were made in the frontier days. If you're going to be getting into cleaning rugs, I have a video, Oriental and Area Rugs, Construction and Maintenance. It's a 2-hour video, a lot more in detail on what I'm going to be able to do here. I only have 2 hours to cover rugs here. Cleaning rugs, what's the most important thing of all? The most important step is pre-inspection. Absolutely by far the most important step. And a lot of times you'll be tempted to slide through that real quick. The one thing you don't want to ever do is have you forced to buy your customer's rug. But we're looking for damage. How good a shape are the fringes in? What are they like? The structure, any stains, bleached out areas, all of these things we want to take a note of, and where does it belong? On that form. She has signed off that it already had such and such damage, because you don't want her to say it wasn't like that until you had it. We want that. In fact, some people, some customers, gotten burned bad enough that they took before and after pictures. There's another reason you should take photos. You should build your portfolio. You have a really unusual, beautiful, antique rug that you're going to clean. Take a picture of it. If you look in the area rug section of the catalog, you'll see a rug that's in the shape of a musical note. Handmade by a company here in Indiana that we were asked to clean because it had been in a flood. Anything unusual like that, you should have a picture of, particularly before and after. Why? We're talking to a client, a prospect. These are examples of what I can do. When you go to a builder, what does he have pictures of? Other houses he's built, etc. You do wood. If you get into wood floors, what should you do? You know, as you go to look in the wood section of our catalog, you'll see some before and after pictures there. They're not pictures we made. They're pictures that customers sent us because they're part of their portfolio. And there's some rather dramatic pictures in there of what they have done. Do you suppose that helps clinch a sale sometimes? You better believe it. check for the fiber type. Ask. Ma'am, do you know what this is made out of? And if it's silk, she probably knows. She may have no clue. The big thing here is if it's silk, look at that, loses 20% of the strength when it's wet. Kind of visualize taking your wife's wedding dress and throwing it into the washer. What do you suppose that wedding dress is going to look like when it comes back out? It's going to be destroyed.
When it dries, does it regain that strength or is it?
Yeah, it regains its strength, but while it's wet, it is easily torn, easily damaged. So you've got to be very careful with it. As with upholstery, always check for dye stability. If it bleeds, I didn't want to say anything while Dan was talking about upholstery, but if it does not bleed, does that guarantee that it won't bleed? If your test showed it's not, you did your little test and nothing happened, oh, I'm safe. This absolutely will not bleed. Is that a guarantee? No way. It's wet for what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes during your pretest? How long is it wet after you've cleaned it? Several hours. Things can happen in those hours. All it does tell you is if it bled from my pretest, it's definitely going to bleed when I clean it. That's the purpose of the pretest, for dye stability. But it does not mean, if it did bleed, it does not mean you're dead in the water. What it means is I can't clean this with my normal cleaning agents. Notice I didn't say chemicals. I can't clean it with my normal pre-spotters, my pre-spray, and my cleaning agents. I have to do something different. Let me tell you something about pH we'll talk about later. All other things being equal, the higher the pH, the better the cleaning. That's the real world. Also, all other things being equal, the higher the pH, the more likely the dyes will bleed. The lower the pH, the less likely dyes will bleed. Let's look at some rugs that were problems. How do you like this rug? Notice this? Mold damage. Take a close look at this area right here versus the matching. What's wrong here? It's worn. Pile is missing. Can you clean that? Yes. But what should be noted on your form? That should be noted. Maybe take a picture. That one you wouldn't touch. In fact, there's so much mold on that's definitely trash can. The steps. Very most important step is pre-vacuum. Why pre-vacuum? Well, two of the primary purposes of a rug in a home are either the pet's bathroom or to catch dirt at the front entrance or back entrance or whatever. So what's this rug going to be full of? Especially in Fort Walton Beach. It's going to be filled with sand. Sand, I can tell you, comes out a whole lot easier dry than it does wet. So you pre-vacuum. That's step one. If it's reversible, both sides. That's the first step. If you're going to do this at the customer's home, some people do that. It's asking for trouble. Say that this rug bled on you and it's laying on her carpet. You have two problems all of a sudden. You not only ruined the rug, it bled onto the carpet. Or let's say it's laying on wood floor and your overspray hit the wood floor. The big thing and the ugliest part of the rug frequently is the fringe, where it's grayed out, ugly, damaged, that type of thing. So that's going to require some extra attention. I put down there we may treat that with peroxide. Well, I'll explain to you how we do that. Cotton. The wonderful thing about cotton is it's 15% stronger when it's wet. This is something you need to get when you get home. You need to get a bottle of 40 volume clear hydrogen peroxide. That word clear is real important. You get yourself a quart. You can just put a trigger sprayer in there. Take a magic marker and put the date on it because within a year it's worthless. How do we use it? Well, how do we do the fringes? Well, first of all, the first step is we pre-dampen it with our cleaning solution. We apply our pre-spray, we use a brush to work it in, we extract. After we're all through extracting, I'm going to show you a video of doing this. We'll comb it away. One of the problems with the rug is that frequently the fringe is all knotted and stringy and horrible looking. It needs to be combed out and dried that way. Then we can apply the peroxide and we simply allow it to dry. The reason,
Including the price for $1.24.
oh yeah, that's one of the reasons it's more expensive. We're doing a lot more to this. Not only do we have higher exposure on the rug, but you notice we're going into a lot more effort on the rug. There, in this particular case, the technician is applying the peroxide. You notice he's wearing rubber gloves. This stuff will burn your skin. It's potent. And you notice it's got a date on it. And there he's using his handy broom. He sprayed it in. Our rule of thumb is, you notice back in the back, we're able to hang our rugs, which is great because it takes up a whole lot less room. When they're hung like that, the rule of thumb is he just sprays this down until it's dripping. You want it dripping wet. And then he'll comb it. That does two things simultaneously. And this makes the fringe look a whole lot better. And the other thing is he's working the peroxide into the fringe. And then it's just simply allowed to dry. That's all there is to it. If you aren't able to hang the rugs, then you just simply lay it down on the floor and do the same thing. Here you go. I distracted him and unfortunately he oversprayed the fringe there. And he's just pre-sprayed the whole rug, including the fringe. Getting a little carried away, but he's using his furniture brush on the fringe. Doing his normal cleaning, just as if you were cleaning this carpet in here. Using the furniture brush. And he's done. Now, of course, he's got to take care of the fringe itself. He's got to apply his brown out and his stay clean and so forth and so on. But the bulk of the process was just what he did there. And I didn't show the pre-vacuum either. I just wanted to give you a real quick shot of what it takes. What can go wrong? A lot of things can go wrong. Cleaning rugs is not cleaning carpets. Big difference. And that's, again, the reason we charge more for it. That rug could brown. It could shrink. And in the process of shrinking, it could also do what? Yes, because of the binding material on the edges shrinks more than the rug face, something's got to give. And so that'll happen to you. It can bleed. It can pucker, edge puckering. You could physically damage it. If it's cloth backed, that is where you every now and then get a rug where you turn it over and there's just a piece of cloth that's just sewn around the edges and that's it. It will definitely pucker on you. How do you cure that? You re-wet it and you nail it in place with aluminum nails so it doesn't rust, and you allow it to dry and voila, it's just fine.